think it's up. So, smart. This time I took it private. I mean, I took it public. I did the whole episode last time for you guys. I thought, yeah, this will be kind of fun. A neat thing to do. Way to kind of get some work going for work stuff. In my infinite wisdom, though, I forgot to turn it public. So, that one's kind of out there. I'm going to leave these up for a little bit. I'm going to record a second one. I'm just finished rendering the MIDS watch one, so it's going to be ready for Thursday. And so I'm going to have this one for the week after Thursday, or I don't know, maybe if I get enough of these back to back, I might just start doing more. As long as the work effort, I should be writing a book, but whatever. Anyways, the plan is do the MIDS watch, the recordings, the same way I would record them already. You're going to love this one. And then once it's finished, shut off that side of things and then deal with a little bit of the chat in here just to fill out to the full hour. Because these usually don't take more than like 20 minutes or so. So let me get it ready. Where'd she go? There it is. Get him in the way. And okay. So I'm not looking at chat until the end. I don't want you guys to throw off my train of thought. The last thing I need is to be distracted on this one. So we're going to do it. We're going to do it proper. Let's get these lights a bit down. All right. I think that's about everywhere I need things. Excellent. All right. Try 2. MIDS watch. Let's fucking go. Welcome. Another MIDS watch with Ryan. I've already talked about it. I'm not going to mention the Batman origin story of the idea of the show every time I do these things. So if you want to see what's went on, just watch last week's one because I talked about it there. You guys are going to love this field report. It's another old one from Jack, and it's not as positive as the ones we usually get where guys can, here's your solution, here's the things you're messing up. This one truly is like a women ain't shit type article. Title of it, let me just pull it up here. And I put that in the chat here. About high and low self-esteem women, masking insecurity with narcissism, the slow slide into betadom, and Saras Story, which is going to be the antithesis of Michael's story. If you don't know, there's a video on the channel too from the Red Pill Sidebar series of a guy who has his tradcon fantasy and ends up getting crushed because, yeah, girls just don't care. They're going to have their cake and eat it too. But this one, passing fitness tests versus providing more comfort and security. So I'm going to get started. He's hoping to get his perspective adjusted and understand more about the speed at which he should be changing things. He's read the sidebar, especially no more Mr. Nice Guy and When I Still Feel Guilty. He's fully accept that his problems with his wife, he's like 37, she's 33, his responsibility, his fault, he needs to change how we do things, address the core problems for a 10-year relationship. And he kind of gives lip service to all this, like, I get it. It's not that she's a bitch, it's that I have not acted in my own best interest and then can't be surprised when I don't have my own best interests. It's a whole bunch of extra pity party stuff there, but whatever. So for the past few months, he's been implementing the changes in his MAP. That's male action plan, not the minor attracted person that I found out the also acronym stands for. So he's got no reds, just too much sugar and coffee, and he's working on the yellows, maintaining frame, passing comfort or fitness tests, and a couple weeks through seems to be working. Then we had a couple weeks of frequent sex, and then things got worse. And he's okay in health. He's a little bit overweight, a couple pounds, just working on it. He makes good money, $130,000 a year. Like, he checks all the boxes, right? Displays of higher value where I've been trying the most to improve, as that's my biggest issue. Mostly passing fitness tests, about once a week she'll stick to her guns, escalate, and threaten to divorce me. She's currently unemployed, which is an anomaly in her high-flying career in management consulting. Geez, talk about a useless degree, but whatever. 4 months pregnant, and I think that makes her sensitive about my newfound assertiveness. I maintain frame, tell her that she should do what feels best. As example, I'm not going to be intimidated into submission by her divorce threats. And I'm also going to take care of her and the kids. I love her, things will be all right. I've also been focusing on being a better captain. I make sure we have everything for the new baby, plan outings, take care of her. But her behavior has been escalating. The divorce discussion is getting more and more concrete, and it wouldn't surprise me if she seriously pursued it. It looks like she's totally focused on winning the power struggle and is willing to divorce rather than compromise in any way. I assume this is because I've made her seem to her like it's the only safe option for her and the kids, and I feel like I need to give her more comfort and security. But I know that reverting to the compliance and the behaviors is going to be worse. So my question is this a symptom of changing too much too fast? And is there a way I can give her more comfort and security without restarting my submissive and compliant behaviors? Before I start with the Jack 10 piece on this one, I just want to put a couple caveats in here. So for a lot of guys, I don't think they understand. Somebody actually asked this in the chat of the last episode. It's like, is it worth using dread in relationships for non-sexual issues? And that's kind of a case of if you treat every tool like a hammer, then every problem is going to look like a nail. It's specifically for sexually deprived relationships. Jack would put it that it's a roadmap to get a guy to stop being taken for granted and start having some self-worth and dignity and boundaries. I put it's a branch swing with male sensibility. So it's an olive branch instead of just, monkey branching from one to the other. Pregnancy, that's the other thing. And I keep articulating this point because everybody thinks like just be more alpha and life will be better. Just alpha males get everything because the wolf gets like the best thing. And he's like, yeah. It's all compartmental, man. As much as guys think being more alpha will solve problems, it doesn't. Because in some situations, it's actually detrimental. And pregnancy is the quintessential version of a time when being too alpha is probably going to be a bad thing. That means, aloofness, dark triad stuff, basically the stuff to make girls desire you sexually. Now, during pregnancy, a girl's hormones are completely out of whack. But what they're looking for right now is zero alpha, like none. They really could care less. They are all about the comfort. They are in perfect, like, baby rabies hybrid mode. As much as, like, baby rabies may mean a girl is looking for a dude to settle down with and put up with beta stuff. Pregnant woman, like, it's not even the same ballpark. So what you tell a guy is if you're in that situation, a loveless marriage, she's pregnant, a little goes a long way. So that's where the calibration kind of comes in. It's one good example of it. On top of that here, it always gets me. It's like the first thing is guys usually go through an anger phase. When they get to this situation, they think my wife is a giant bitch and I can't stand her and she's bad this, and they talk about her. This guy kind of went the other way. Like he instantly started saying, I get it, it's my fault, I got to do this, I got to do that. I take responsibility, right? Which it's not wrong per se, but that a guy who's just starting out and that's his go-to, it brings up my Jordan Peterson, I'm not the stepdad, I'm the dad who stepped up kind of vibes, you know what I mean? And sure enough, it's the case here where he's trying to take responsibility for her emotions and to fix things. But I think Jack puts it better than me. Like, this is his response. Ugh, you're fucked. He talks about how the guy says he'll never win a fight with a woman. He goes, that's true for high anxiety women who mask their low self-esteem with narcissism, which I suspect describes your wife to a T. If you guys don't know what that stuff's talking about, there's a playlist on my channel for the Sidebar series, the book Practical Female Psychology for the Practical Man. It's one of the, I guess the closest I could think of it is like if you were going to get an education in Red Pill, it's probably one of the canon tomes. Anyways, they talk in there about high self-esteem. I think it's like chapter 6. You'd have to go double check it though. It's listed on there. High self-esteem and low self-esteem women, high sex drive and low sex drive women. And once you kind of understand that and come back to this, it'll make a lot more sense, but you should be able to follow along anyway. Anyways, continuing on. So at some point, most people develop the maturity to realize if person X did action Y and I feel bad, I can't always just blame them for making me feel bad because, that's how adults work. But the women who don't realize this and are pain in the ass, I could tell Jack is he's probably his first wife was like this, which is why he constantly mentions how much of a pain in the ass they are. Because something like this almost always happens early in the relationship with them. Your girlfriend suggests coming over to your place on a weekday, flirtatiously suggesting sexy times. You say, no can do, I have my softball league tonight, or some other thing. Now, girlfriend type 1, A woman with high self-esteem will respond, oh yeah, have fun. She was probably raised in a stable home, has a dad who has poker night or camping trips. She knows this is not a rejection. There's girl type 2, low self-esteem, but low anxiety. Will always think the same, but, well, I feel rejected. That sucks. But it's not his fault. He should be able to have hobbies. If he didn't like me, then he wouldn't have wanted me to meet his friends when we were in town last weekend. Just need to get over it. The woman's family was also stable, although her dad was probably pretty beta and didn't have a lot of hobbies or friends. But he worked at his job and he made her feel safe and protected. She knows what a good beta looks like, even if she doesn't know what alpha looks like. And then there's girlfriend type 3, a woman with low self-esteem and high anxiety. And they'll have some sort of self-loathing meltdown in response. They'll be like, Jesus, I feel like a loser. You'd rather play softball and have sex with me. I don't even know why you're in a relationship to me. Clearly this isn't going anywhere. And the woman's family had no real father figure. So she has no idea what a positive, non-sexual male attention looks like. She just sees male attention as binary, as in, men want to have sex and women they're interested in. So if he doesn't want to have sex, he's not interested. So they cultivate a few of their own interests and hobbies, and friendships suck because it's just a loose social group for going to bars and letting guys hit on them. Those friendships immediately dissolve as soon as one of them gets a boyfriend. I think I talked about that on Twitter back when this came out. So if you're not watching this live, don't bother checking. It's too far back. Anyways, these women constantly trigger shitty comfort tests because they don't realize you'll occasionally want to do shit without her. Like, no, I don't know what you mean by space. I want to hang out with you every night. Why don't you? Anyways, they have no hobbies. They have no friends to occupy themselves. And they're just one time away from your absence until you get back. And she has no idea what a good beta looks like. She has no idea I have the self-esteem to date a man with any alpha traits, without hamstering. That means he actually hates her, which drives away any good guys, leaving her with more one-night stands with, chads who reinforce the men just want you for sex. There's a good breakdown on this one too. It's another one of the MIDS watch ones that the only guy that a girl knows who's wanted her for something other than sex is her father. It's good to kind of elaborate on this issue too. It's another MIDS watch. Check the playlist on the side. But the one that's impertinent for this is the type 4. Low self-esteem that they hide with narcissism and high anxiety, also known as Lucifer's effing daughter. She'll give you a huge fitness. Well, it's not even, he calls it a shit test, but it's really just like lashing out. I don't think it's good to qualify these things as a shit test because this doesn't mean she's attracted to you. This is literally like an attack. But when are you going to grow up and stop playing games like a little boy? I thought I was dating a man, but I guess not. You suggest coming over after the game, already chipping away at your frame and what will be the first of many concessions. I can't believe you'd think this would be a good idea. What's wrong with you? What makes you think you get to see some sweaty, dirty boy after he's been playing with the other boys? Call me if you decide to act like a man again. Most likely due to her own narcissistic mom and codependent husband. Her mom beat her self-esteem into submission, hence the low self-esteem, and gave her a damaging model of relationships by berating her husband constantly. Oh, look, your father did something right for once. What's wrong with you that I shouldn't say that? What about X, Y, and Z, where you fucked up D, E, and F? And oh, you work hard and feel underappreciated? Well, what a baby. You want a medal for bringing home a paycheck? Try being a mother. You wouldn't last 30 seconds. Does that sound familiar? So these women, they suck. Because they have no idea what a competent and confident husband look like. When girlfriend 2 was a child, she may have overheard her mom complain about her dad and then said, yeah, dad's the worst. And mom would say, no, he's a good man that loves us very much. He just works hard every day to make sure you have everything you want. Sometimes mommy gets mad, but daddy's not the worst. He's the best. So yeah, the girlfriend 2, the dad has no hobbies or friends and is probably the best at being in a sexless marriage, but at least the daughter grew up understanding that she should want some comfort in her future husband, right? But girlfriend 4, whole different level of evil because she demands good behavior, but then won't even give you credit for it. Like, I don't even mean like sexual credit because, beta men don't lead to tingles. But what he means is in terms of seeing your contributions to the relationship and being happy with them and thinking she may be a good choice as a life partner because she married a kind man, she doesn't think that way. The Lucifer's daughter either is like, comply with my messed up worldview, which gets you nothing, but if you do anything else, it's negative. So girlfriend 4 requires her relationships to exert a huge amount of effort just to get nothing. No, I know I've talked about this before too, where it's part of frame is realizing that your girl has a scoreboard and that she'll always be ahead because she's judging her own, she's the referee. So a big part of unplugging and getting frame is realizing that the scoreboard doesn't exist for you and to not play into this stuff. Now, in this case, it should be early enough on that you realize this girl is not worth the effort. But, anyways, we end this one off, and like, if she becomes wife number 4, then you're screwed because it means you were the only guy who tolerated it, which means you're the only guy who didn't say, look, I want to hang out with my friends from time to time, and I hate how you don't have a problem with that, but you act so belittling about it, so we're done. I actually had a story. I told this story. I know I've told it a few times. I'll tell it again here. It's like a buddy I used to sail with, and we used to go out to this bar in Victoria. It's called the Water Wheel. It's since burned down, but he got with this new girl, a French girl, and that should be your first, red flag. It's a Quebec girl. And every time we wanted to go out, she got sick. She had a headache. She needed her to take care of him. And he, being the nice guy, because she treats him well as a girlfriend every other way, is like, guys, I can't go out tonight. Ellie's sick. I got to take care of her. We're like, all right, whatever. But it happened every time. It's amazing how well she got sick the instant we wanted to go out. And it's kind of the same as this. So it doesn't always turn into a girl berating you. I've got a post on my blog about the 5 types of manipulation. And just anger is just one of them. Sometimes it's ego. That's where that real man will do things will come in. And sometimes it's playing wounded. And that's what Ellie did in this one. It was, hey, I got a headache. Can you just stick around and take care of me for a bit? And sometimes it's frame shifting, where they kind of bedazzle you with words. Like, well, they make some kind of deal and they talk, and then you're just like, you just tune it out. You're like, all right, I'm just not going anywhere. So when I tell you these stories, you got to remember there's like many different angles that come on. That's why you got to focus on the end result. The end result is every time she is not the center of attention in everything you do, that it's not good enough. And then some kind of manipulation technique comes after that. And that, as much as guys say vetting works, and as much as I say vetting is absolutely ridiculous, like, this is one of those things that you absolutely have as a strong boundary and make sure you establish early on. Like, if you're doing your thing and your girl has a problem with it, I would strongly suggest just nip that in the butt right away. I don't care how small it is. It's like, look, that's how this is going to be. Well, then we need to have another talk. And then if it continues, you already have your answer. But in this case, he not only got her, he got her 4 months pregnant, and now he's trying to figure it out. Jack follows through and so this is why all this stuff happens. And he brings up the story about how he loves her, things will be all right, he wants to be better, and then nothing was ever good enough. Now, is this insurmountable? He goes, no, but this is why you're fucked. And he references she's 4 months pregnant. Pregnancy, childbirth, motherhood can all make the narcissism sound downright rational, because those things do disproportionately impact women more than men. But you may have a way out. So to explain, I want to segue into a brief story about a couple we were friends with, Gary and Sarah. And this, I like this. This is going to be Sarah's story. I might even do a whole video just on Sarah here. So the wife had some friends over at the house, Gary and Sarah. They're playing some game like Taboo or whatever, and Sarah says something especially shitty about Gary that went beyond teasing. Something like, of course the timer in Taboo was 60 seconds, not that it'd buzz if you timed us having sex, implying that, Gary suffered premature ejaculation problems and was literally a 1-minute man. So Gary just leaves, looks over at Sarah with total anger and contempt, and then stands up, opens the door, walks out. Sarah then sheepishly said, sorry, we have to leave now, and followed him, and then they were arguing in the car as he got in and left. So the wife is pissed, because she'd actually been friends with Gary longer than Sarah, and she rightly sees this as Sarah being a bitch and Gary just refusing to take it. So Sarah calls the next day, apologizing, for making a scene and being rude. And then the wife says, no, it's fine. It's no secret why Gary was upset. We understand that. And wait, you're apologizing for Gary? Sarah, I hate to break it to you, but he didn't make things awkward. You did. And of course he got mad. You made that statement right in front of all of us. He's embarrassed, wouldn't you be? And yeah, we laughed because we were nervous. I don't know what problems you people have, but every time you insult him in front of us, we just wonder what's wrong with you. I would never insult Jack like that, because what does that say about me? I just hope you realize that. Now, Sarah was mortified supposedly because, as he assumes, the wife made it very clear that her narcissistic world revolves around me viewpoint is not actually held by other people. In Sarah's mind, she thought Gary is a loser who can't take a joke, and then it was made readily apparent to her that that is wrong. Apparently, Gary gave Sarah some sort of see a therapist or we're divorced ultimatum, and of course she, hamstered that away by how messed up would that be that he'd have to make the marriage based on an ultimatum, but sure enough, she went to therapy, Couldn't wait to share her all too predictable breakthroughs. Yeah, my therapist is great. I know it sounds cliche, but a lot of it traces back to my mom. Remember what a bitch she was. Blah, blah, blah. Exactly how Jack describes it here. Anyways. So from our, red chill, arm pill understanding of psychology, I don't think Sarah was a full narcissist. She just mirrored the behavior from her mother, which they call getting fleas, which I didn't know. That's a term. Getting fleas. So being around narcissists as a parent kind of gives you those same traits, but you don't actually have the disorder. You just kind of follow the behavior. But either way, the only way a narcissist changes is if they have enough evidence from enough sources that their point of view diverges deeply from that reality, which is tough because they get really good at discrediting sources of reality. Among other things, they are masters of the ad hominem attack. So here's the approach. Your wife thinking her frame is going to be something like this. Being pregnant sucks, but my husband did this to me. He's why I'm in this condition, so if he doesn't make every single accommodation I want, he's a bad father. And you just need to keep presenting social proof that that's wrong. Long term, that's the goal. Now, this is easier said than done because I'm sure your social circle has withered to zero over the years because your wife's universe is limited to only the people who don't threaten that. Remember that? Narcissistic fantasies, narcissistic fuel, narcissistic injury. But you have to start somewhere. So I have some more specific advice, but it's getting late and I got to crash. If you think it's great, we'll talk about it later. They didn't talk about it later. This guy kept his account, but I think this is the last thing he ever posted. Yeah. So it's typical. It's the most frustrating thing, and this is why you can't really invest too much in guys, because great red-pilled example. Great example of men swapping notes. Great men of sharing their skills together, but it's like, oh, thanks, then just leaves. Probably didn't take any of it to heart, and it's really only for the rest of us that any of this matters. So, things to take away from all this. That narcissism. I've talked about it before, unhealthy narcissism in a guy. Remember that. Narcissism is the idea that you have a worldview, everybody is a bit part, or a character, a set piece in their one-man play. Doesn't mean only guys get narcissism. Girls get it too. Now in this case, she doesn't actually have narcissism. Most female narcissists aren't narcissists. They get fleas. The parents are narcissists. The mom is like completely overbearing. And the children kind of pick it up because they model their relationships based on their parents' relationship. How the mom treats the guys, how the guy treats the girl, that sort of thing. So when you get these type of things, first things, you got to be aware of it. Like, just nip this stuff in the butt right away. But that's the problem, is that most red pill guys are in a situation where they didn't know to look for it. They didn't see it coming. Then by the time it becomes untenable, it's too late. Like, she's 4 months pregnant. What's he going to do? Leave her at month 5 and go be an alpha man on his own? Maybe. He can do that if he wants to. But most guys, it's going to be a hard sell. So for him, it's just a case. Again, frame is all that matters. Even if he does leave her, here's the problem. That's the kind of relationship that he's drawn to, whether he knows it or not. So he has to be able to not become narcissistic fuel, to fight against it, to have his own frame, to not be sucked into some crap like that. Because otherwise, what he's going to do is just kick the can down the road. In the next relationship, same thing. So while these ones are always kind of sad stories to hear about a guy in a suboptimal situation who's basically having to work way too hard to get himself out of any rut, I mean, it's work you should have done earlier. Your parents should have helped you. Your early relationships should have tempered it, but most guys don't get the opportunity. Crappy parents, non-existent parents, bad dating, no dating, and so you're 30 now and you have to figure it out. Like, well, welcome to the club. Sometimes you just have to work twice as hard to get half as far as somebody got on their own. Do you want to win or do you want to be happy? Just be happy. And part of it is just not learning to take shit from Lucifer's daughter. Or better yet, learning who she is so you ditch her right away. And I'll tell you right now, back to my buddy I was sailing with, he ditched that French girl. And he ended up with a nice girl from Calgary. I think they have their second kid now. Very nice couple. But it was good. So he learned his lesson. Hopefully you guys do too. Hope you enjoyed that MIDS watch. I'll catch you guys on the next one. And cheers. Okay. That was it. That's the first part of these recordings here. Eventually the rest is storing the visuals on there, throwing the back stuff on. And as I was talking about before, I'm going to take a look, see what you guys are doing, chatting about the thing here, and we'll do some chit chat, and then I'll end this one off. Yeah, hey nerds, don't read this until the end. It always cracks me up when Ryan says whammon ain't shit. Yeah. Yeah, I did 2 today, MIDS watches, the live ones, because like I said, I screwed up the first one. I left it unlisted for the entire time, and I'm like, well, what's the point? I had a thought, since I'm doing less videos, I might as well, if I'm recording it, why not just record it as a live stream? Then you guys can see the process live, and we can like have a couple minutes to go over some stuff. So Olive Branch swing, she needs 100 comfort because she's at her most vulnerable and her SMV is low. It's not necessarily her SMV, man. Insecurity and anxiety, it's not really correlated with attractiveness. Like hot girls can be crazy, crazy girls can be crazy, ugly girls can be crazy. It's just stick to the hard 5, the psychological terms, the anxiety and stuff, and just realize girls generally trend towards more anxiety than less. And so when you tap that in with like bad childhood or bad parenting strategies from her childhood and a narcissism coping strategy, you just get, again, a bad combination. It's like we said in practical female psychology. I always try and gauge it on like high and low self-esteem and then high and low sex drive, you know? So I'm the guy who thought dread was the answer to conflict, avoidant wife. Turns out it was comfort. Who knew? Still made my boundary, was clear and would leave, but stop being a prick. Yeah. Again, that's the one thing I noticed that everybody seems to misinterpret. They think dread is like some magic pill to solve anything when it comes to women, and it's not the case. And I can only blame us for letting too many red pill. I mean, we can't stop them, but letting the red pill guys sitting there and just like, just dread that bitch and she'll get in your dick and blah, blah, blah. Subscribe to my channel. I'm like, I hate that shit. And I'm doing well, thank you. But yeah, dread is specifically for, are you in a dead and dying relationship? That's it. That's the only reason. Guys have tried it for other things. It doesn't work for other things. The whole point with dread is whether either you're doing it passively or actively, like the self-improvement side or the game side, you're going to induce some kind of anxiety in your girl. You just will. Because they don't want to lose a top-tier man. And whether you're doing it purposefully or it just happens as an emergent strategy, doesn't matter. And a lot of guys have a real problem with that, to which I argue it's like, whatever. You can have a problem with it if you want to. It works, and there's a reason it works. It's the same reason, like I said in the last episode, why guys are lining up 6 people deep to buy the brand new iPhone. It's because they create a scarcity and a fear of missing out, and people just latch onto that marketing. It works. And it'll help you break through that like sexless marriage part. But here's the thing. Once you're there, you still have to follow it up with like the general attractive things, calibrated between alpha and beta behaviors, your healthy boundary enforcement, because a lot of guys do that. They'll work their dread, they'll get what they want, and then they revert back to their old self, and then things just revert back. And now it becomes even harder because the next time you try to do another step of like dread to get things going, the girl is like, oh, it's another one of them roller coaster events where he acts like a man for 6 months and then is gone. So like, you know what, fuck this guy. And that's where you get guys who are like really making it hard on himself. And that's why everybody asks like, how long should your map take? And I'm like, well, you know, if you do it right the first time, 6 months to a year. If you do it wrong, it could be 2 years before you even make any progress. It all depends on how observant and, I don't want to say authentic, but sincere you are about knowing yourself, like the self-awareness. Yes, Ryan's clone. The ultimate female shaming tactic, telling man you're a bad person, I won't do what I want. Yeah, and it only works when you let it. Again, mental point of origin, you can't let other people shame you. You have to be above shame. If you did something to make you shameful, stop doing that thing, because it can't be used as a weapon against you. It never works out for you. Is having a baby mother meaning the end? No, what it means is most guys want to be dads, and they really don't want to leave like a girl who's 4 months pregnant. I know it happens, and it can happen if you want to, but just realize when I say things like you're going to have to be the bad guy if you decide to ultimately search for your own best interest, I don't think there's any guy who's vilified more than the one who leaves like a pregnant wife because he can't stand her, even if she's a bitch. Guys don't care about. Nobody cares about that. Like I said, do it if you want to. But again, the problem here isn't so much that she's a narcissistic bitch, which she was. The problem is that he put up with it. Like for her, it's not a disorder. It's not an intrinsic disorder. It's not a brain function. It's a learned behavior. And so anything that could be learned can be unlearned. But the only way that works is if he stops reinforcing it. Like, narcissism will starve if you stop giving it narcissistic fuel and you're able to handle the narcissistic rage that accompanies it. In this case, I mean, what's she going to do? She's 100 pounds, 4 months pregnant. She's going to fight him? Just hold her by the shoulder. Like, put your hand on her forehead and then have her swing her arms underneath you like the cartoons. That's about as far as it's going to go. But yeah, and like Dante says, sometimes you can only make the best of a bad situation. I just found the red pill and it's like drinking from a fire hose. I consume content without this sense of begin here. In lieu of all the information, I've only done really 2 things, lift and Muay Thai. All right, Ranger. This channel is basically designed for like, this is the like step 1. Yes, lifting, step 1. Once that's done, the first things you're supposed to do as far as treat it like a co-op program, right? Read a little, act a little. When I say no, or no more Mr. Nice Guy by Robert Glover. Sidebar series puts them all in order for you. Read that book. Get rid of all of your nice guy behaviors. That's the first thing. Second thing is When I Say No, I Feel Guilty by Manuel Smith, and that's about assertiveness, understanding assertiveness. Rational Male is book 3. That's the place to start on this stuff. Now, as you're reading this stuff, you got to be like, once you see the examples of how to shed your nice guy behaviors, how to be more assertive, you got to apply the stuff, because just reading it by itself and not doing anything with it isn't going to do you any favors. And then after that, you have to have some self-awareness to know what kind of goals you want to solve and where you want to take it next. If your problem is with always meeting the wrong types of girls, then maybe you want to go into practical female psychology. It's also in the sidebar right now. Maybe your problem is you don't know how to approach girls and you actually need game. And in that case, it's like Daybang by Roosh V, or maybe your problem involves, whatever it is. But then that kind of leads you into the direction of which way do you need to go. Is it the TradCon fantasy? Then Michael's story. And it's just one of those things. So like, stick with us. Like the plan for this channel, the overarching roadmap is to kind of take guys from step 1 to step alpha. You know what I mean? So I'll get you there. Just be patient and make sure to like and subscribe. Yeah, I was going to do it next week too, but I'm like, I got time right now, so I'm just going to record the second one and this time leave it on public so you guys can watch it anyways. Okay, so that looks like about it. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to do some editing after this, upload the next one. I don't know how long I'm going to leave the live streams up, but they're not going to be up forever. At some point, I'm going to unlist them, probably like Wednesday or something like that, and then they'll come out Thursday at midnight, and that's when I've thrown all the polish and all the artsy-fartsy crap around it. I might leave these out for just the Patreon guys, as like a Patreon-only reward. I figure it's nice to have those in the background. But yeah, anyways, enjoy yourselves, guys. I'm going to catch you on the next one. I don't have a schedule planned for when I'm recording these ones. It's literally as I have like a free 45 minutes, I'll just throw one up. So it's my way of like forcing you guys to pay attention to the channel, I guess. I don't know, whatever. Anyways, have a good one.